Okay, guys, today we are back with the Coach Trap podcast. This week we are very fortunate to be joined by the amazing Dr. Philip Neri. Before we go into his extraordinary background, before we go into how he's figured it out in this space, I've got something for you. 86% of coaches quit or fail every year. Most of them quit or fail after 3 months. If you want to do something about it, if you want to be the 10% who make it, click the link to subscribe. And trust you'll hear some great stories or some great hacks, and it will put you on the right path. Dr. Al, thank you so much for joining us. Right, let's dive in. The first thing, right, when you go on your LinkedIn profile is I don't have the most ordinary of backgrounds. Tell me the story. Tell me the story. I
Yes.
want to know all about how you got into the space, a little bit more about you, and then let's have a deep dive.
Yeah, for sure. So immigrant, right? Immigrant parents, born in London, England, ironically, came to the States, my family by business, had all kinds of complications. And I originally wanted to go to medical school. I wanted to be a doctor. And that's a whole nother podcast. Never made it to medical school. Made it out of undergraduate, but never made it to medical school. Got involved with youth corrections because somebody was like, you should try this. Well, I ended up liking it, promoting, moving around, ended up doing statewide special operations, was senior drill instructor at the first program for violent juvenile offenders sentenced as adults, ran a juvenile prison. And I loved every minute of it. And just didn't like all the bullshit, all the politics, right? So I decided, you know what? We came to this country for my family to buy business, to be entrepreneurs. It didn't work. But that was the dream, right? Was to come here and own a business. I was like, I've got education. I had a bachelor's degree, I had a master's degree. I was like, let me just try this entrepreneur thing. If I fail, I can go back to work. And that was my attitude. If I fail, I can go back and get a job. That was 2004. It's 2026. I haven't gone back to get a job. I'm not saying it's been easy. I've made money, I've lost money, I've made good decisions, I've made bad decisions, I've had crazy decisions, I've had businesses I regret ever opened. There's businesses I opened that I learned a lot, but I'm like, I'm never going to do that again. And then a few things worked, right? And so the entrepreneurship journey then launched me into helping others, because one of the businesses was real estate. Now, I fought in the ring, so I had a boxing martial arts gym, so you can call that coaching. That's a little different, right? But I started flipping houses, became an agent, was very successful. So I ended up speaking for all the real estate TV shows. I was doing 44 events a year on average. And I realized all I was doing was inspiring people, because I wasn't selling anything. They had already bought it. So it was inspiring them, but giving them tangible steps to be successful at something new they were trying. And I really liked it. And when the light bulbs went off in them, it's addicting, man, because you don't see their eyes. We see their eyes as a speaker, right? And when someone like gets it, man, that feeling is just amazing. So fast forward, had a big real estate team, decided I was going to go back to school. Again, keep in mind, I want to be a doctor. I did a PhD, and I did a PhD in performance psychology, because my life has always been about performing at the highest level. But my research was about team cohesion in high-stake environments. Well, guess what that has now turned into? Now, doesn't matter if it's law enforcement, correction, athletics teams, private companies, government entities, they all talk culture, right? Culture. So this is now my space. Culture is a result of having cohesion. So how did I get here? It's a combination of academics, and it's a combination of lived experience, and it's a combination of something that I truly feel passionate about. Is you can have cohesion while increasing standards. There's a misnomer that, well, if I have this like warm, fuzzy environment, then like, oh, I've got to play nice. No, man, no, let's wrap this up, baby. But it's the way we do it. So that's how I became Dr. Al, performance psychologist, Cohesion HQ. That's it in a nutshell.
Love it. Love it. What I loved about your profile, and when we talked off fair, right, is you can't lead others down a path that you haven't walked yourself, right? It's one of those mottos. And I think that, the experience you've got, you're in a great position to try and inspire others. So there's a few reasons why I'm invited you on. One, it was like a bit of selfishness from myself, right? So I want to know something.
Mhm.
I'd love to know a little bit more about your book, and I've got a few more questions for you. So let's dive in. I've got a great question for you. So at the Coach Trap, we preach to everyone that we work with, all our clients, to try to start off with a one-to-one, but try to move to a one-to-many system, create a community, and to try and create a team feeling, all right?
Mhm. Mhm.
One common theme that I see, right, is people are great at creating the communities, great at getting them in. They try their best to create that team sort of ethos. But from what I know, right, from a real basic psychological point of view, is that high performers are great on task, not great in social situations. So what you notice is they join up, they might do online tasks within the community, they might sign up to a newsletter, they might silent, like quietly DM you, but they're not great at evolving themselves, right? So look, just a bit of selfishness, right, for the community that we run and the people that we work with.
Mhm.
What would you how would you lean into that? What sort of advice would you give? Any hacks, any tips?
Yeah.
And why? And why, most important? I'd
Yeah.
love to know why people do that.
Yeah. Got it. So, okay. So if we go back to behavioral psychology, okay, there's something called traits versus behavior modification. Traits are how people are naturally wired. The most common traits, this is not 100% of the time, but the most common traits of high performers, they're very visionary, they're very strategic, they think in the future, and they're absolutely impatient. That personality doesn't do well in a group community where people are not moving at their same pace or thinking at the same level or being as assertive slash aggressive as they want to be, right? So understanding that what you're doing there is you want that high performer to modify his behavior to fit into your box of this group coaching model. Well, he doesn't want to fit into your box. He doesn't operate in a box, right? So, and it's funny because I actually despise being a part of group coaching myself, like despise it, right? And if somebody comes to me with a group coaching offer, right, when I'm looking for coaching, looking for something new, I'll flat out say, stop, 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 stop. I don't need to join your school community. I don't need any of this, right? Tell me how much will it cost me for 5 Zooms with you so we can get from point A to point F in the fastest time possible. That's all I need from you, period. Right? Now, if you as a coach try to reel me into, well, my community, I'm like, look, dude, I don't want to be a part of your community. I got my own community, right? Like, and it doesn't mean that you don't want to help people, right? And that's the way it usually gets viewed, right? Oh, he's egotistical. Oh, he doesn't really want to help. No, 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 no. I paid you for a service that I wanted a result from, period, right? And group coaching works for some people who want to be collaborative, learn from others' ideas. And I'm not saying that there's no value in that, but specifically to what you were asking, if a high performer wants a result, he wants to know the fastest path to get there and how much is that going to cost him or her, period. That's it. Just boom. And let's get there, right? Doesn't mean anything other than that. So as a coach, like, your audience is coaches here. Yes. Does group coaching make a sense for time, value, effort on your part? Of course, right? Versus doing a bunch of one-on-ones. Okay. So now the question is, well, then what do I do? You just charge a ton, right? So what I want, and a lot is relative, correct? Because somebody could be charging $97 a month for group coaching. Somebody could be charging $9,997 a month for group coaching. So a lot is relative to where you're at in your business, your scale, your experience, your case studies, your testimonials, that's relative. So the dollar amount is relative to where people are on the spectrum per se, right? But just if somebody really wants you, they know you can get them from point A to point B quickly, and their pain point is big enough, and they know the result will be a 10x return, right? That's the way to look at it, right? They'll pay you. So coaches, quit trying to stuff high performers in a school community, or if you create a group of high performers, the problem is high performers are competitive, but they don't like to be vulnerable in front of others until there's a high level of trust, right? So you got to be really, really careful there that, what are you really doing? So I would say, for you personally, I would just have something separate for the high performer you're coaching, and you're not trying to capture them for the year or 6 months and stuff like that. You're just capturing for the one thing that they want to hire you for to fix. Because here's the thing, once you fix it or you help them fix it, guess what you've just earned is their trust. and their respect. So when they run into a roadblock again where they feel like you can be of service to them, they will reach out to you and be like, hey, man, I got an obstacle. What's your hourly rate? Can you help me? So it's just a different paradigm of what you want to do, right? For me, I enjoy working with high performers because I'm also visionary, futuristic, and extremely impatient. So a group setting for me, even to coach it, when I ask somebody like, okay, have you done something? And then I've got a 10-minute response of why they haven't done something, I'm ready to shoot myself.
Yeah, I get
Right?
that.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my Lord, what am I doing here? Help. This is not fun for me either. Right. So, I love those guys, but yeah, they want one-on-one. And here's the greatest thing. Sometimes the call can be 10 minutes, 15 minutes. That's the thing. They move so quick. Their brain is fast.
Yeah. Okay. More questions based on that, right? I have 2 funnels, right? So I've got a life coaching funnel, right, which I don't advertise anymore. So oversubscribed, right? I don't even consider taking on more clients. And obviously now I have the coach trap, big project, loads of coaches in it. I find they're 2 very different people. I find that the life coaching people are high performers, extroverted. They want it there and then. There's no need for even like, soft offers or
Mm,
discounts or anything. It's discovery calls, signature. That's it. Right.
yep.
I understand
Yeah.
that. Completely
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah.
With the community, I find they're a little bit more introverted. Coaches are by nature introverted. If you're actually going to look at the coaching market as a whole, right, and actual coaches, most of them are women,
Mm-hmm.
most of them are introverted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a generalization, but it's true, right? So I find actually that what the community does is a good nurturing ground. And also it's a good nurturing ground, 1, for them to work me out, and 2, good for me so I can work those out. So before anyone buys, generally 6 to 8 clicks, 7 hours. So what the community is a good relationship building thing. But I agree, it doesn't work for everyone. And also, like I said, some people want it there and there. They want it there. They want it right there. They want to know what they're going to get. They want to pay for it. They want to start tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. It's just like, the tactics and strategy fascinate me about it. Fascinate me. Like another good one, right, is about whether you show pricing or not. That fascinates me as well. So I learned, and I'd love to know your idea on this of your psychology background is that I stick to something called the rule of 100. So if it's
Mm-hmm.
$100 or less, I advertise it. If it's $100 or over, I hide it. It's called the Veblen effect, right? So in short, if you go into a Volkswagen garage, the prices are on the car. If you go to a Lamborghini, it says inquire within, which leads also to exactly what you said about, the people, the high performers who want it there and there, they want Lamborghinis.
Right.
Right, don't they? So that's the system that they fall into. There's so many ways we can talk about that. But let's go on to I'd love to know a little bit more about the book. Right. So me and Dan signed a book deal as well, right, with the coach trap. We handed in the manuscript with that a few weekends ago. I think books are incredibly powerful. I think
Mm-hmm.
one reason why I think they're so powerful is I think that lots of people want to reach out for coaching. Maybe they don't have the confidence, maybe they don't have the money, maybe they don't have the whatever. I think books are great to show a little bit about you and to make like an entry level for anyone, right? That's my opinion of why books are so great. I've learned so much from, Simon Sinek and made to stick and all of that sort of
Yeah.
stuff, right? But
Yeah.
I'd just love to know a little bit more about why you created the book, a little bit more about it, and then let's have a deep dive there.
Yeah, for sure. So the first book I wrote was in 2012 called The Formula for a Balanced Life, self-published, never read a book, didn't know what I was doing. The thing doesn't even have a back cover, right? Like, I mean, I didn't think like you made a back cover for a book. I mean, it was just like this fly-by-night thing. But the passion for it came from people saying, how do you juggle as much as you do? So it's Formula for a Balanced Life, 9 principles. How do you make these fit into your life every single day? So fast forward, when I finished my PhD, I always knew, like, what do? Do I rewrite that book? Right? Because it was a long time ago and I didn't know what I was doing. Right now it's Dr. Al Philip Neri, right? Well, more people read it more than your mother, right? Like stuff like that. And I was like, no, that's not coming to me. It's not coming to me. So working with clients through millions of conversations, through networking, right? Because I'm basically starting a new business as Dr. Al, right? When I finished my PhD at the end of 2024, it's a brand new business venture, this Dr. Al thing, right? So I had to get back on the streets and just start grinding, right? People had to know what I was doing. I needed people to almost forget that I was in real estate unless I was really close to you, right? Things of that nature. And so through that, I started to say, okay, what is my unique value proposition, right? How do I differentiate who I am, what I've experienced, but put it into a framework where anybody can pick up the book and be like, oh, I'm here. I could implement this today. Correct. You could, and you could do it by yourself, or you could hire me, or you could hire someone else, right? Whatever you need, really. And so I came up with it. And at the end of the day, I'm all about execution. And I've talked about standards, right? Increasing standards. And so I'm all about execution. How do you improve execution? How do you be better? How do you move that needle forward? Right? That's what really drives me. So I called the book The Execution Advantage. And then I just kind of started working backwards and I said, okay, well, how does somebody really get to execution? How do they get there? So I started talking about prediction, understanding human behavior. Well, that's the psychologist in me, right? The behavioral psychologist in me, applied behavioral psychologist. Traits versus behavior modification, things of that nature, right? And I have tools. I have tools that can assist. And in a few minutes, we can figure out exactly how you're naturally wired. Cool. Perfect. Okay. Now, now that you understand how people are and you figured out, are they on the right bus and the right seat? Because that's an issue with a lot of companies, right? They're not bad people. They're just on the wrong bus and the wrong seat. Okay. So can we fix that? Hopefully we can, because they're good people, loyal, whatever. Now, how do you actually create a team? How do you align people? And even if you're a coach, like if I'm coaching you, Greg, there needs to be alignment between me and you, right? So that was my PhD research, is how do we create cohesion in high stakes environments? Well, if it can be done in high stakes environments, it definitely can be done every single day. It's the framework for how you create, how you communicate, how you have role clarity, what's mastery experience, things of that nature. So that's the alignment. Then I said, okay, we're all aligned, we're good. That doesn't make us better. Well, in theory, well, how do you get better? You got to apply pressure. You got to train for that fourth quarter. You got to train for that overtime. You got to train when things aren't going well. Okay, well, that's scary to most people. Okay, so what's this time in my life where there's pressure, but it was actually fun? Teaching a kid how to ride a bike. Right? Go back to teaching a 5-year-old how to ride a bike. It's highly stressful. You're taking off the training wheels. They're nervous. You're nervous. But your attitude is of growth, encouragement. It's okay. We're going to do this until you can get it. Okay, you're tired today? That's cool. We're going to try tomorrow, right? It's just your attitude, right? It's your attitude. So if you led and did deliberate and calibrated pressure with the right attitude, how do you think your people would perform? They're going to make mistakes along the way, but we're doing growth, right? We're pushing, we're moving that needle forward, we're growing. You do that, you lead to execution. So that's where the book came from, right? Is I just said what's really important to me. So now where am I different? Okay, behavioral analytics. Okay, there's behavioral psychologists doing that. There's people doing that. Okay, so that doesn't make me different. The alignment piece makes me different because of the PhD research on team cohesion in high stakes environments. The pressure is my entire life. I've never been comfortable in training for the next level all the time, right? And then you put that together and now we have predictable execution, right? So that's where the book came from. That's where the passion came from. You're right. I want people obviously to buy it. Everybody's sitting here, like, authors don't make a lot of money from your book sales. So quit thinking you're gonna make millions and millions off a book sale, right? You make like $8 or something like that, right? But you want people to read it because you're right. What it does is it starts increasing the know, like, and trust. You expand their horizons. People that want more will come seek more, right? People that feel like, okay, you know what? This was complicated but simple. I can implement it. Good for you. Good for you. I'm glad the $30 book was your answer to help you move the needle forward. You know what I mean? Like, I'm happy for you. So yeah. So, to your coaches, if they've ever thought about it, quit thinking about it. Get your stuff together in your head. Get it out on voice dictation. Start clearing it up. Start putting it into some framework concept and just get it out there. And think of it as a glorified business card for what you do and what you stand for.
Yeah, that's a really good point, isn't it? Right, a business card. I love
Yep.
that, and I think the books are so interesting as well. Like an entry level into you. And there's so many people doing this sort of space. I think also it gives you that extra level of
Yep.
authority, makes you
Yep.
stand out a little
Yep.
bit more. Let's dive a little bit deeper. All right. So cohesion is a system, right? I remember seeing on your LinkedIn profile and speaking, you call it like not a feeling, like a system. correct? Yeah. So
Mhm.
if you're a coach, small business, the sort of people we work with in personal branding, right? What's the
Yep.
minimum sort of like viable option for that? And also, what's your thoughts on like using AI hacks and stuff and framework, like AI frameworks for this sort of stuff, or do you think it
Yeah.
should be purely human? Right.
Yeah.
Talk.
Yeah. So a few questions in there. So number one, my little statement is culture is a feeling, cohesion is a system. Okay. Cohesion at the end of the day is how you function, right? It's your family. It's your friends. If you work out with someone, if you play sports, your business, right? It, cohesion is at the end result, you have a common objective, right? Alignment helps. That's why I talk about it. But the difference between cohesion, my definition of cohesion that may be different for some other people, is people put cohesion to harmony, right? This peace. No, 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 man. You can have tons of disagreement in a cohesive environment. What's holding you cohesive is the common objective that you're going after. Everybody's going after the common objective. Does that mean you have to agree? No, you're aligned in clarity, communication, language, things of that nature, fair expectations, but we're all going to this common objective. So disagreement is part of cohesion. So when I talk about cohesion, I'm not talking about some kumbaya thing, right? I'm talking about we can execute. That's what I'm talking about on cohesion. That we may not agree, but man, we are going to do what we got to do and come together. When we got to come together, we're going to say what we got to do, and we are going to get this common objective, and we're going to check the box, and we're going to do it collectively. Now, when you do it collectively, you start talking about trust, right? Because there's a trust in regards to you, what you can do, right? You know what your skill set is, and you know where you're weak, or at least you should. But the question is, do you trust this person next to you? Do you know where they're strong? Do you know where their areas of improvement are? Because at the end of the day, you'll never have that cohesion unless there's collective efficacy. Collective efficacy is a shared belief and trust in the collective, right? So I don't care what your coaches are doing. Anytime they have an interaction, if they're looking for something long-term and a common objective, there needs to be cohesion. You need to be working towards the common objective. And again, that doesn't mean it's 100% agreement, right? We're going to do something and get to the common objective. Now, and as you know, in coaching, sometimes we're making people think differently, move out of their comfort box, shift something, make a difficult decision. Well, yeah, that's making them do something for the objective. Now, the last part is you asked about AI. Okay. Personally, I love it. Okay. I love it. It's here to stay. It's here to play. It's going to get smarter and smarter, faster and faster, more and more, bigger and bigger, better and better, right? Period. How do you use it? Because it does hallucinate. It does tend to want to agree with you unless you train it to not agree with you. Again, you're not looking for AI to be an agreement partner. You definitely don't want it thinking for you. You want it thinking with you, and you want it pushing back, right? You want it pushing back. If you can train AI, and I don't care what you're using, right? But we'll just stick with Claude, Perplexity, and ChatGPT. The probably the three main ones that people are probably using, right? Here and there, you got some Gemini and stuff like that. Whatever. Four. You got to train it to push back. So you got to tell it, like, don't just agree with me to agree with me. Don't tell me this is a good idea just to stroke my ego. Tell me if you think I'm an utter buffoon, right? And I'm smoking crack, right? Let me know that I'm nuts, right? Gary Vee is funny. Hopefully everybody knows who he is. Well, but one of the things he said is, he said, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Just talk to AI. He was like, just talk. Don't try to type. Just talk, right? So he was like, you get so much more out there, and it'll fuzzle through all the nonsense and just keep you on track, right? He was like, yeah, one time I talked to AI for like 10 minutes, and in 10 seconds it already had the response. And he was like, wait a minute, man, I just talked for like 10 minutes. Right? And he realized that most of what he said had zero value, and he was repeating himself. So obviously now a new one is Whisperflow, like it is WISPR, right? Whisperflow, where it talks, it just sits on the back of your computer and you can talk into everywhere. It's actually pretty cool, right? People recommend it to me. I did the free trial, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. And sometimes I'm just talking to my computer, and my wife is like, are you talking to me? No. So AI for coaches, I think, is huge. But make it push you. Make it push you. It's got so much knowledge. Make it make you a better coach. Well, actually, the behavioral analytical tool I'm using is partnered with AI, and it's pretty powerful, man. It's pretty powerful, right? On how it works. It's cool. It's really cool.
I've got such a mixed opinion on it. Obviously, I think AI, like I said, is here to stay, and I think it's cool. However, for me personally, it doesn't own a bank account. It can't kill. It can't love. It
Yep.
can't hate.
Yep.
So at any top level execution level, I'll never accept it. I'll never accept that it makes a better decision than me. I'll never use it for my branding. I'll never use it to write a post because it only writes like Tony Robbins or Alex Mosey, and I'm Greg Stein. So I'd always say that almost like use it like it's a bottom level assistant,
Mm.
worse than a PA. That's my honest opinion at it. And I think if anyone thinks that the scary thing is, look how many open cases there are against OpenAI where people have built romantic attachments and taken their own lives. We should
Yeah.
never trust it at that level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you look what happened with the bot, look, when you get 5 minutes, look at. Well, I won't say that on the podcast. I'll tell you after. What I'm trying to say is its top level execution level should never be used for
Yeah.
humans.
Yeah.
That's what you said about the acceptance rate. But I love it. It's here to stay, right? Just like you. So this part of the episode, right? I love the story, love the book, love how you got. I mean, you are quite aligned with all that sort of stuff, right? But this is a question for. Normally, I'd ask it to Dan, right, who's the technical
Mhm.
guy, and he's not here. But something more technical about LinkedIn, X, social media, or whatever, coaching as a general business, anything you want, right? I'll help you unpack it, sort of right now, far away, and they're much better off the cuff, right? So anything.
Yeah, got it. Okay, so I asked you the question. Okay, about social
Go for
media.
it.
Okay, got it. Okay, so okay,
Anything you want.
yeah, I got you. Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking how to word it correctly, right? So we all get a million DMs on LinkedIn, right? A million of them, right? Connection notices, DMs, and you pretty much know everybody's trying to pitch you on something, right? So for a coach, and let's just say it doesn't really, it's agnostic, right? Just someone who's a coach, consultant, whatever the case may be. What platform do you think it's best for somebody to launch on, get exponential attraction, which then leads to, a funnel strategy call, something like that, right? Because, some people search LinkedIn, right? You use Apollo, you scrub, you use Easy Pipeline, you do this, right? Others will say, no, you create a YouTube channel and you just can do it from your phone, just be consistent, even if it's once a month or once a week, right? You never really hear about Twitter. And I think the next one would be Instagram, right? Like, you know, uh, Instagram is the hottest thing right now. People are just on Instagram, right? They're buying. And then you could probably sell on TikTok, right? So, what do you think? So, I guess I'm asking on behalf of your audience, what do you think is the best vehicle to use and launch so that your audience doesn't have to be consumed? And whether they use an AI service or do it themselves, but they're just not spinning their goddamn wheels on social media, just getting burned out.
It's a really good question. First of all, I'd think about who your client avatar is and where they hang out. First of all, that's the most important thing. So
Yes.
you talked about TikTok or X. I worked for Russian billionaires and rock stars for 15 years of my life. I can tell you that none of them run their own social media accounts. I can tell you that
Yeah.
none of them even
Yeah.
post their own content. It's all ghostwriters.
Yeah.
However, they do hang about on X because they want to know about politics. They want to know
Mm.
about football news. If you're a sobriety coach, if you're something along those lines, X is by far the best place for you to hang out because people voice their opinions on there looking for advice. If you're a sobriety coach, you do not go on LinkedIn and talk about it because people don't want to be vulnerable. Most of them use it as a CV, for example, for their job, or they're
Mhm.
using it to, poster for their own business, right? So that's a bad hangout. Instagram is an interesting one. It's a mixed bag of stuff, right? I would say a real deep dive, right? If you want to find real people where actually like voicing concerns and want an answer, is Reddit. Reddit's incredibly underrated,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you got to think about how people's behaviors impact them on different sort of platforms. Who's your client avatar? Where do they hang out? They're all so very different. My wife, for example, does UGC. She's paid to make videos.
Mm.
Everything she does is on TikTok.
Mm. Mm.
Okay. The average salary of someone who indulges in a podcast, who watches a podcast, is 75,000 USD. The
Mhm.
average salary of someone who is on LinkedIn and is in the top 1%, I mean, the 90% watch on LinkedIn, but on the top, 1% to 10%, they're over 100,000 USD in the US. right? That's not
mhm,
all around the world. So you've got to think about who it is that you're looking for and why. That isn't mimicked on Instagram and TikTok. Okay.
mhm,
They're a younger audience. The real big thing I'd say for anyone is how you talked about DMs, is how you create the sieve, right?
mhm,
So I can talk to you about our example. So I got a great example of a coach that come to us a few months ago. They have 40,000 followers on LinkedIn, 60,000 on Instagram, zero clients. They have lots of interest, lots of DMs, but nowhere where to send them. What you need is a sieve,
mhm.
right? So a great app for that. I know you said you like tech is ManyChat. So they
Yeah.
come in, the app deals with it and it sends them to somewhere. So whoever it is that is watching your content, how do you sieve from like the marketers and whatever? Is you've got to have a somewhere to send these people, take
Mm,
them off platform as quick as possible. WhatsApp,
mm,
newsletter. That's
mm.
how you sift them. So actually the profile is important. That isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is the mechanism to get them into an environment where you can have a human conversation with them. That's the
Yeah,
biggest advice I can give you. So if anyone dips into my DMs, I get over 100 DMs a week, easy, on LinkedIn alone. I think
yeah.
we create however many, whatever we do across all our platforms. As soon as they come in, this is the link to find me. And you'll notice there's a questionnaire and there's a link, a sieve, right? To decide who's going to speak to you and who's not. That's the first thing that I say to you is social media is only ever shining the light on the door. You need something to guide them through the door.
Mhm.
That's the mechanism. So I'd say, look, for what you're doing, LinkedIn's perfect.
You,
Absolutely.
you know what's interesting is I had never heard that perspective about X, like ever. I've never heard anybody, like seriously, I've never heard anybody give that perspective on X. And now you have
Biggest
my
platform in the world. It's the biggest
correct.
platform in the world, yeah.
And I actually don't use it at all, right? And so now you actually have me thinking, right? Like like you got me thinking. I'm gonna have to sit back and think now, right?
That's what this
About
is all about, yeah.
yeah,
This is what
what
this
you
is all
just
about.
said, 'cause that's the one platform we don't post anything on is X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be
I'm like,
surprised. So,
what do
we
you think
work
of
with
that?
some sobriety coaches, for example. You
Right.
tell them not to even touch LinkedIn. It's a
Yeah.
because people don't wanna involve that with their jobs. They don't want a
Yeah. Correct.
place to look like you're high achieving. X
Correct.
is somewhere where people are vulnerable. If it's
Interesting.
addiction. And remember, the glory actually as coaching, the strongest model you can have is the wounded healer. It's Cole Young, right? It's to actually talk about your own experiences. Let's say I've had instances with alcohol and all sorts of stuff, right? To talk about it, to resonate with others, to show them the system that you use so they can take it for themselves. On LinkedIn, it works, right? But on X, some areas, it's incredibly valuable, especially if it's deep,
Mm,
especially if it's deep stuff. And Reddit, even better, by the way.
mhm,
No one is going to go onto LinkedIn and post I was an alcoholic for 10 years,
mhm.
but they do on X and people like that. So it's like the vulnerability sells. It's a
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
interesting stuff. And on Instagram, it doesn't quite work. It does and it doesn't,
Yeah.
it's, it's, yeah, X is it's a very slow burn, right?
Yeah.
But it's a shame Dan's not here because he's the expert. He's a
Yeah.
wizard
Yeah.
when it
And
comes to X.
it's interesting because there's a little bit more coming about Reddit, right? A little bit
Mm,
more. And actually Myron Golden he's even dropped a couple websites where, it's just you can jump in on conversations, right? Like think of it like a platform like a Reddit, right? And you can jump in on conversations that people are talking about. And because they're authentic, then and someone's usually got an issue or they're complaining about something or, like, I want to fire everybody at my company. Why? Right? Like all of them made you mad? What, right? Well, what do you mean? Talk to me, right? And now you're starting a real dialogue, right? Because they're just venting. And next thing you know, 20, 30 messages later, you've been of so much value and you've been sincere. Next thing you know, like it's leading organically, right? So Reddit, I've heard only a couple people talk about Reddit, but Myron Golden, I don't know if you know who that is. He's very popular in the US.
mm,
He's older African American gentleman in his 60s, sharp guy, sharp guy, has a huge following. He's given some sites where he's like, this is a good place just to have conversations with people. So yeah, I think you're right. People want authenticity, but we're looking to be vulnerable, right? Like when I look at my thing is work at a police chief, working at a CEO, come and be like, I want to fire all my middle managers. He can't. really put that anywhere, even though he's thinking it on his drive home. You know what I mean? Like he can't put that anywhere. He can't. It'd be deemed unprofessional, right?
Yeah,
Or that
absolutely.
he's a weak leader, or whatever the case may be, right? So that's the thing also with high achievers is, going back to the high achiever thing is they don't always have they're more on an island by themselves than people think because
Yeah.
they're not allowed to be vulnerable or expose. You know what I mean? So everything that's going on is right here, in between, right here. It's right here. It's right
And
here.
then
You know?
that's interesting.
You
I've got one other tip as well, which is interesting, especially with like the high level topic that you write about, right? It's not like you're posting manifestation tips or anything like that. Like I said, that works well on
yeah,
TikTok or Instagram, right? It's the real high level stuff. It's Substack. So Substack has
yeah,
17 million readers, 2 million writers. And the great thing about Substack is you can link it to your LinkedIn account. So whatever you post on LinkedIn without any extra work, you can just post it on Substack. You'll be surprised at the
hmm,
people that look at it's definitely your sort of subject.
yeah,
Like again, but it doesn't work for everyone. It's like Substack's not going to work for someone who's like a healer.
yeah, yeah,
It's just not what works, right?
yeah,
But for
yeah.
what you're doing, right, and the sort of people that, and also it cites on AI. So if someone
Mhm.
searches in whatever, I think Substack articles, because they're between 1,400 and 1,800, they cite better than anything else you can post. But
Yeah,
it's a great chat. And I love this sort of stuff. I said the take homes that people
yeah,
get from that are amazing, and the way that I look at our school community after that advice was going to completely change as well, which is great. And that's what this is all about.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
so it's been a
yeah.
pleasure having you on. Just before we finish, where's the best place to find you? Where's the best
Uh,
place to look for you?
Oh, probably, LinkedIn is probably best. Just Dr. Al Philip Neri. You'll find me. You can message me. We'll have the Execution Advantage blasted all over there when it publishes next week. It should publish next week. Would appreciate reader support. Buy it, Kindle it. Eventually, I'll do the Audible and I'll do the reading myself. I just got to carve out the time to do it. It'll probably come quicker than I anticipate because I'll make it a high priority for sure. But LinkedIn is probably the best.
Great. The link will be in the bio. Looking forward to it. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. And whatever you do, don't fall into the coach trap.